Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria, the I Know What Works coach. I'm the author of 7 books, including Lighting Your Path, How to Create the Life You Want, and Pushy for a Moment, Instant Solutions to Everyday Challenges. I'm also your host here on the Sanity Project podcast. I partner with IT pros in telecommunications, technology, entertainment, and mass media industries whose work-life balance plan has imploded and who want more success, more confidence, more fun, and more inner peace. The Sanity Project podcast is a platform for experts in the personal development and IT communities to share their wisdom, expertise, and solutions that will help the IT professional live a sane and healthy and prosperous life. And our guest today is going to help all of us, including me, do just that, because I am always attracted to shiny objects. Our guest today is Eric M. Twiggs, and Eric is an expert in overcoming procrastination and the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Okay, let's do that again. 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. As a certified life and business coach, Eric has managed over 500 people at a time as corporate district manager and has had over 28,000 coaching sessions helping executive leaders and entrepreneurs who struggle with feeling overworked, underpaid, stuck, stressed out, and frustrated. Eric has also led organizations of 500 or more people in corporate America and shared his message with corporations, associations, and congregations across the country. In this conversation with Eric M. Twiggs and myself, you will receive a proven roadmap and blueprint to help you to ditch the excuses, beat procrastination, and to become a more productive and profitable individual on purpose. What Eric is going to help us with today, amongst other things, because Eric is very experienced in procrastination and overcoming it, he's going to help you, the listener, to overcome the procrastination habit that is keeping you from getting to your next level. Welcome to the show, Eric M. Twiggs.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
I'm so glad you're here. My ears and eyes and the rest of my body perked up when I saw what your specialty was, and I knew that you had to be a guest on this show because procrastination leads to failure and people don't get that. So I'm so glad you were able to make it. And I'm so glad you wrote this book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. And all of this information about the book and about Eric will be on my website when this is published. So what can you tell us today about the habit of procrastination and how it prevents us from getting to our next level?
So, great question. So here's what I've observed. You read my bio that I've got this experience with supervising 500 or more people and working with entrepreneurs. Here's what I've observed. You can have 2 people, and let's say the first person is a good performer, right? And then the second person is a great performer. They get great results. In many cases, the good performer and the great performer, they have similar know-how. They know a lot of the same things. But what I've observed is that the difference between the good and the great is that the great performer has this ability to do what they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. That's a major difference. And they don't procrastinate on their priorities. And that's really what separates them. And so the person that I work with, they're looking to go from good to great. And that's really what it's all about.
If people only knew how simple it was. I find myself from time to time going, Oh, I just don't feel like doing that because can get dramatic from time to time. And then and then I realized I'm on a schedule of sorts that have to get things done. So usually before I go to sleep, not bed, but before I go to sleep, I go through my mind and I write notes. I have a notepad right by my bed of what needs doing tomorrow, which hopefully some of it gets done while I'm sleeping. And then I realized, I have to set aside time to do the top three most important things. And I have to be committed to that, even if I don't feel like doing it, because there's no other way, because otherwise it fades. And that's what I find. It fades. Does that make sense to you?
It certainly does. I do think the habit, and this is one of the things I teach, of making a list of what you have to do the night before for the following day, or right before you leave work for the following day. That's critical, because what I find that happens is when you wake up the next day, you get different ideas as far as how to implement and execute. And what I would say as far as things fading, one of the things, it's very good to be clear on your purpose and clear on why you're doing what you're doing, because that'll help. You'll feel less fade the more clarity you have.
Yeah, I using myself as an example, because if I use a client, it's not going to feel right. But using myself as an example, I know that if I don't do A, B, C, I'm never going to get to Z.
Right.
And, and when you work alone, it's more difficult. And as an entrepreneur, I work alone primarily. And every once in a while, the person I share goals with, we, get on each other's butts for doing or not doing something that we committed to do.
Yes.
So you really have to be clear on everything.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that you have an accountability partner, because that's something else that I teach. And I find that helps to put yourself in an environment of people that are striving in the same direction that you are. So they're going to hold your feet to the fire on those specific tasks.
I think it's important too. I see a lot of people on Facebook or LinkedIn or stuff like that come up with a quote unquote masterclass. And I don't know how would a masterclass of some sort, or a master team, or some sort of label put to a group of people who will help you overcome your habit and help keep you on your path. Would that work?
It can. I think you just have to, if you have to look at the environment. If it's an instructor, does that person have the results that you aspire to? And then the other thing is, you have to look at the individuals. Are they moving in the same direction? But you have to be. There's a lot of those master classes and mastermind groups, but I think you really have to be selective. And I would even say, I would encourage everyone. I think everybody needs a coach, especially if you're an entrepreneur. And if you're looking at a coach, does that coach have a coach? So I think there's some key things to look at when you're looking at the environment to put yourself in.
Right. So you have 12 practical principles to overcome procrastination. What an alliteration in your title, which I'm sure you did on purpose. What are the top? Can you choose the top 5 practical principles?
Yes, I can.
Okay, give me the ones that you see are prevalent, consistent with with your clients or people that you teach on procrastination.
So the biggest issue I see that people have, one of the biggest things, is fear. Fear is what keeps people from moving forward. So you have your fear of success, you have your fear of failure, you have your fear of the unknown. Believe it or not, fear of success, I'm finding, is more common, because you're afraid of what the next level would mean. I'd say that, the procrastination is keeping you from getting to your next level, but deep down, you're afraid of what the next level represents. Can I maintain, for example, I'm as a speaker, for example, the question is, I can do a great speech, but what if they call me back to do another one? Do I have a second good speech? So that's how people think that have that fear of success. And I help people to become aware and start to unpack that so they can move forward. But
Mm-hmm.
that fear is critical. And that overcoming your fears is critical to not procrastinating.
Okay, do you help people follow through and complete their commitment by working through their fear without overcoming it, and then maybe it's overcome after they achieve the success?
Yes. So one of the ways I do that is I help people to focus more on the process than they do the outcome.
Right.
Right. So I help people to identify what are the specific steps. Like, for example, I was working with someone recently who was having some fear of what it meant to get her PhD. And I was able to help her to shift to focusing on, okay, how often do you need to study every day? How many hours a week do you need to set aside to prepare for your dissertation? And so she just started chunking down. And as she did that, she started to build confidence because she knew she was prepared. So that's an example of how specifically I'll help someone that's dealing with that type of fear.
That's very good. And I know our listeners are listening to that, and I'm going to ask them to share this at the end of the program, share this program. Okay, give me the second one.
So the next one would be perfectionism. This is a big one. And a lot of people that I work with, they struggle because they want to have everything figured out before they move forward. They want to have all of the answers, all the lights on the highway green before. But here's the thing, and I say this, you can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important. You can't allow this idea that everything has to be perfect to keep you from moving forward. And sometimes it's all about taking that next step, and then the other steps start to reveal themselves to you as you start moving in the direction of your goal. But perfectionism is something that really holds people back. And the other thing with perfectionism, it'll keep you from delegating. So if you're a leader and you're in a supervisory position, you think, okay, nobody can do it like Eric. It has to be perfect, so I need to do it. But you stress yourself out and you keep yourself from focusing on the priorities that you really need to be focused on.
Right. Okay, number 3.
So the next one is failing to say no. That's a big one.
That's huge.
That is huge. And so here's what happens. As you start to become more successful, and as you start to apply some of these principles, you start getting more opportunities. People start noticing you. But I always say, success breeds opportunity, but not every opportunity is the right fit. So you really have to go in knowing that you're going to start getting requests to do different things. But if it doesn't line up with your passion, your priority, or your personal abilities, it's better to say no. You're saying no to the request and not the person. So you need to be freed up to focus on your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But saying no is huge.
Yeah, you have to know who you are, what you do, why you're doing what you do, why you're here on this earth to contribute, what you're contributing, to be able to make that decision to say no. And the people who are unclear have big problems.
Right.
At least that's my observation. But it's true. Saying no to things that don't work for you only because you're flattered. Well,
yes. And some people are good at flattering you. They throw in the flattery and you buy into it before you know it.
Yeah.
You're heading the committee before you know it.
It's happened to me in the old days when, Joanne, that's such a great idea. We're forming a team. Why don't you head it? And I would go, well, that's great. And I did. And then I got my success. And then they said, well, that success was great, but now we want smaller things. So it's like really weird and odd, but you have to know when somebody is trolling you and take that hook out of your mouth.
Yes. Here's something I would suggest for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We all make these decisions that seem to be a good idea at the time, but then we start beating ourselves up. So here's something that's called zero-based thinking. So look at the things you've committed yourself to and ask yourself, knowing what you know today, would you have said yes, knowing what you now know? And if you honestly can say, no, I wouldn't, the next question is, what are the next steps to uncommit yourself?
Well, yes, groveling works. I mean, yeah, to uncommit yourself. Well, I think that's a good question, and I think people need to really understand, especially if they're making commitments where it's outside of it. It's not just outside of their comfort zone; it's outside of their area of influence, and it doesn't help them. It doesn't benefit. It's got to be two-sided, right?
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
got to work for you and who you're working with and or for. And if you go ups halfway there, it's not working. You have to unhook from whatever commitment you made. Maybe provide the notes that you've taken up to that point to save the next person some time. I don't know, something like that. But I see where unhooking from the commitment could be a problem for people.
And it could be a gradual thing. It depends on the extent of which you've committed yourself to.
Right.
But the thing to consider is, so you have to look at it this way. When you say yes to a request that doesn't line up with your priorities, by default, you're saying no to a request that does.
Yeah. You're also saying no to yourself.
Yes.
Okay. These are important things that our listeners really need to know. Okay, so you said I asked for 5. What would be number 5 as one of the 12 principles? And by the way, on Eric's page right below, if you are looking at if you're on my website at askjoannevictoria.com/podcasts, you will see Eric's episode. And you're going to see a link to get you to a copy of his latest book. And also, at the end of the show, Eric is going to share with us, myself and the listeners as well, a way to get, describe that again. They can get the remainder of the 12 principles, or what are you providing as a free, notice-free gift to our listeners?
So I've got a free gift that I'll tell you about towards the end. It's a video. It's titled 2 Powerful Tips to Beat Procrastination. So it's going to be 2 bonus tips in addition to it's a short video, but it packs a powerful punch. So I'll share with you how to access that free bonus video.
There you go, people. You're going to have to listen till the end. Sorry about that. So number 5.
So the other thing, it's really about, you have to count the costs of procrastination. And one of procrastination, it's like a silent killer. And we feel like we got away with it, right? Because you do a presentation, you wait till the last minute, and people are patting you on the back saying that you did a great job. But and I talk about this in the book, there's a link between innovation and preparation. It's going to be better if you're doing, especially if you're doing a creative project like writing or speaking. It's going to be better if you start early and continue to work through, as opposed to just throwing something together at the last minute. But we don't get the warning. There's no warning buzzer that goes off. We think we get away with it. And then we say things like, well, I work better under pressure. But we're not really getting away with it.
No.
Our work suffers, our reputation suffers, our personal brand suffers as well. So
I totally agree with you. Again, using myself as an example, because I'm the safe one to go to here. In my process of writing for my website or for whatever I'm writing about, I sometimes get a little too focused. That could be the word, but I'll write something, then I'll put it aside, and then I'll look at it again a couple of days later. Then I'll look at it again a day or two later, and then I'll find out, and then I'll print it out because I find the paper in my hand, it looks different. And
yes.
I find that when I have the paper in my hand, I might just throw the original away and start all over again, because I see, I'm assuming other people print things out and keep paper. I keep paper. So I know that when you have something in your hands, such as your book, 12 Principles to Overcome Procrastination, people are going to see things differently than the way they're hearing it. They use a different part of their brain to listen and a different part of their brain to read. So I think you need to see it at all levels. But when you look at something, hopefully I can continue my practice of delaying, because if you want instant gratification, you write something in 30 minutes and you throw it out there. But it may not be good.
Yeah, but the key thing you hit on is that you start. So if you start giving yourself enough of a time window, you can, because I'm like you, I do the same thing. So I'll start writing, like, let's say a blog, and then I'll look at it on the screen, but then I'll print it out. And you're right, I catch things when it's on paper that I missed when I actually had it on a computer screen. I'll even take it a step further, as I'll sit in a different chair. I have a chair I sit in when I'm writing, and then I have an editing chair. And believe it or not, I see different things and I look at it from a different perspective. But if I wait until the day before or the last minute, I don't get the benefit of that added perspective.
No, there's not. You're rushed. You're not clear. All things happen to the brain. I don't care how good you are. Right. All things happen to the brain in that kind of a situation. But I like the idea of the two different chairs. I physically move myself sometimes to another room, and things look different I don't know why, they just do. And I think the mood might change when you're out of a hard working environment to a softer working environment. And I think that might be part of it. And you go, whoa, I wrote that? No, I don't like that. Take that out. But I think you're right. There needs to be time to do things. And people who tend to procrastinate until the very end, and I think you can get away with some of that stuff when you're in high school or maybe even college, but when you become an adult and you're responsible for your own income and other people, you can't do that and get away with it for very long.
Right. Yeah, you're paying a cost, whether you're paying a price, whether you realize it or not. So that's no, I think what you're saying is very true. That's why you've got to start. Like I tell people ask me, Eric, you don't have issues with procrastination. And I tell people it took me 6 years to write a book about overcoming procrastination.
Oh, I totally understand. I'm serious. I totally understand. People don't understand when, so you just take the kudos and then move on. So, was writing the book the only big thing? The small things, but that you're willing to share about how you procrastinated in your life? I mean, there's a reason you're dealing with procrastination as a very specific, deep issue. And
yes.
What is it in 25 words or less?
So, for example, one of the things I've observed, even about myself, is that we're bad about predicting how long things really take. And we don't factor in the likelihood that things can go wrong. We just assume. So we start at the last minute, even if it's something as simple as getting to a destination, we leave with just enough time. So, I've been burned in college where I waited to the last minute on a paper and had computer problems, couldn't turn it in, and it lowered my grade, a full letter grade.
Whoa.
And I blamed the computer, but it was my fault, right?
I know. We just can't get away with it, can we?
No. But if I started early, I would have had enough time to anticipate or to react to my computer breaking down and still get the project done on time.
Yeah, I tend to overcompensate for my past time in the procrastination city, even though I still deal with it from time to time. And, I know why it is. I don't want to know. I don't want the answer. Take the time. You need to take the time. That's really important. So tell us about your free gift for our listeners as we're getting close to the end of today's recording, and I may have you back at another time just so people know.
Yes. So the free gift, it's a video, a short video. It contains 2 powerful tips to beat procrastination to access the free gift. All you have to do is text on your smartphone the numbers 474747. You text those numbers in, and then you type in Twiggs time. Twiggs is my last name, Twiggs, time, Time, and then you will get my video, the 2 powerful tips to beat procrastination.
Well, I think that is a marvelous gift. It's really important that people understand that we're here to help you. Eric Twiggs is here to help you. He gains nothing from giving you a free gift. He doesn't even gain a lot when you buy one of his books. The reason that Eric is doing this, I'm guessing here, is because he has a message that needs to be shared. And he is on this earth to be that messenger for himself and for the people he knows that need it because he's experienced it himself. That's the way most of us run our businesses. We're here to help others because this is why we are on this earth. We're here as custodians of information, and we are required to share it. It would do Eric no good for him not to share this information. It would not benefit anybody. So I want everybody who's listening to this, please share this podcast with anyone you know, as well as re-listen to it over and over again to see if you've missed something. Because I listen to all of the podcasts that I record. And then please give this podcast and our guest, Eric Twiggs, a 5-star review on iTunes. And third, go to my website at AskJoanneVictoria.com and click on products and check out my latest self-study program, the Be Your Authentic Self program, a system you complete by yourself in your own time. It includes a suite of PDFs, audios, and videos for $297, cheap at 10 times the price, actually. If you have any questions about this podcast or anything else, please email me at askjoannevictoria@gmail.com. And Eric, would you please give out the best email address where people can contact you?
Yes, email address, eric@ericmtwiggs, again, TWIGGS.com.
And that's Eric with the C, ERIC.
Yes.
At ERIC, M as in Mary, Twiggs, TWIGGS.com. And I'm going to say goodbye for the day because I have to go quickly start working on things that I have left in Procrastinationville, and also get a copy of Eric's book. I'm telling you to get a copy, everybody, but I'm going to get a copy of Eric's book because I need to know these things so that there's nothing that I procrastinate on in the future. Any final words, Eric?
Yeah, just remember, another thing to think about, that clarity is the starting point of success. And the book will help you to get clear, even clearer than you may think you are now, on what you should be pursuing and your purpose. And you'll find yourself moving with the discipline of now.
There you go, people. Can't ask for anything more than that. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, Eric.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on my podcast page. And get a free copy of my book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.